Welcome to the all-new Kingdom Mandate Podcast. We address biblical principles that promote the kingdom of God and how they apply to our everyday lives at home, at work, and in the community. You're about to join our hosts, Pastor Reggie Davis and Derrick Turner, for an uplifting time of teaching, conversation, and empowerment. Thank you for tuning in. Join us weekly and invite a friend. Be blessed and welcome.
Mandate Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Derrick Turner.
And I'm Pastor Reggie Davis.
All right, and we got a really exciting one today. Reggie, sometimes we get a chance, these last few episodes, we've been talking kingdom, right?
Right.
We actually get a chance to do kingdom today, and we're really excited about that.
There you go. Yeah, we are today. We're gonna be talking with some veterans, military veterans, and we're gonna be getting some perspectives on what veterans go through. How, what they're dealing with once they return from, service. How do they readjust back into society? So I'm excited today because there's some information that we have that we want to get out to all those who need this information and bring it to their attention, because I think we can touch on some things that you may know, but you may not know how to actually go about initiating your process. So I'm very excited.
Absolutely. So in order to do that, we have two special guests with us today, and this is a special first for us because we haven't had any guests on the show before, and so we're very excited to bring you two very esteemed, not only veterans, but also friends of the ministry, friends of Kingdom Mandate Ministry, and so we're really excited to have Louise Wilson, who is retired Air Force, and she is in Macon, Georgia. And then we also have with us the DAV service officer, Kyrstal Singleton, and she is from Buford, South Carolina. And we're going to go on and jump into and let them share with us a little bit. So, Sister Louise, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me on, Pastor Reggie and Pastor Derrick. I am retired military veteran, 31 years, 16 active duty, 17 reserve, a total of 31, in the United States Air Force.
Nice. All right. And Sister Kyrstal, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you all for having me on. My name is Kyrstal Singleton, and I live in Buford, South Carolina. I've served 10 years in the United States Navy, as well 3 years reservist. I'm a service officer for DAV, and I spend my time as a caregiver as well as serving the veterans.
Nice.
Well, I definitely like to say on behalf of Kingdom Mandate Ministries, we want to thank you all both for your service and time that you all have put in to protect us and our rights here. So we definitely want to tell you thank you for your service.
Absolutely. Thank you.
With that, I want to ask, because our goal here at Kingdom Mandate is to not only talk about the Word of God, but we want to talk about how do we get actively involved in the community. And one of the ways that Derrick and I we discuss is that we need to reach out to the veterans. We need to reach out because I know for myself, I worked for the Naval Air Station of Atlanta for a period of time doing security work, and so I was able to see a lot of what some of the servicemen were going through, right, with paperwork and issues with just a number of things. And so, I can imagine in you all circle, you all talk about it a lot, right? You all, know the stories, but someone on the outside, they don't really know. They don't have that insight. They don't even, they just don't know. And so I think we created this platform to address these things because we can't just, be about talking about the word, but we have to provide assistance on more than just this, our verbal level. We're just talking. We need to put things into action that people can actually use. That makes sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we want our influence in the community to reach those people who are underserved. And our disabled veterans, in the United States. It's probably one of the biggest crimes in the United States. People who are these people are heroes. These are people who protect our way of life, and they find themselves oftentimes underserved. And so we are very, very glad to have you all on and sharing with us. So we have that with that. Let's jump right in.
Well, I would like to start if I can.
Absolutely.
Because what I'm going to be is the underserved or the victim, as you will, where Kyrstal can come and give us some enlightenment. Had I had a Kyrstal, my life would have been a lot better.
Sure.
So
Nice.
upon retirement after 31 years, I found myself saying, where do I go? Who's going to help? Nobody told me about this. And the reason was I was fortunate enough to reach the level of E9, which is the Chief Master Sergeant, highest position of an officer. Well, what happened, I was eligible to serve 33 years at my rank.
Okay.
31, I developed asthma. So having asthma, you're now not worldwide qualified. So I was basically, for lack of a better word, put out because of my
wow.
So I fought them for a year and I lost my fight. So I was not prepared to leave the military 2 years earlier because unfortunately I didn't have a plan, a retirement.
Okay.
So I fought them saying, let me stay for 2 more years, let me get my act together, let me get a plan together, but it was no. So I was forced out, and when I was forced out, my question is, where do I go? Where do I go? Who do I call? How do I get my retirement package together? How do I get my exam together? How do I do? So I had no answers.
So then let me ask you this then. So there was no person per se that could give you some form of plan as far as once you retire, or because of your situation, there was no one to just say, hey, you need to do A, B, and C, and then.
That was a retirement seminar that once you identified that you're going to retire, and I'm, in my case, forced to retire, you went to a workshop for a day. But I put in 31 years. You give me a day. You give me a packet. You give me a phone number. You give me a person. You don't give me a Kyrstal Singleton. You give me a number.
Wow.
But one thing about the military, we have an awesome bond. If it wasn't for that camaraderie of the military person, we really would be lost.
Sure.
But once you retire and you have given that, you put in there doing active basic training, consistency is the key. Consistency, consistency, and follow up. And what happened to me, I was so discouraged, but I had a fellow military person that called me and she said, Louise, no, we're not going to give up. Wake up, wake up. We got up, we stayed on the phone all day, and it was several days, several weeks, several months. So what I do, all information I find out, I pass on to anyone that I know is going to retire, anybody that's close to it, get these numbers, start these calls. And what happened to me, I found out I had to do a exit exam. Well, no one told me how to do exit exam. Well, 2 years later, I'm still fighting, trying to get my disability. But what happened was I was at a Air Force hospital in line getting my exit exam. Behind me was an officer who was getting ready to retire. I was not afforded that information. So had I been afforded that information, he was still in uniform, getting his exit exam. So when he get his military check in October,
right,
he would be ready to get his retirement check in November.
There you go.
Well, I'm 2 years behind the 8 ball,
Right.
and I'm trying to get my retirement. It took me 3 years to get my first retirement check. But it was consistency and follow-up and camaraderie from another person. I didn't have a Kyrstal.
Okay, so I get it. So what you're saying, and then I think what we're trying to introduce is you needed an advocate, if you will.
I did. I really did. I really did.
Okay, and I'm sure your story, as well as many other servicemen and women, their stories.
And it's across the board, across all military agencies. It's across the board. You're going to hear that same story when you talk about Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. Same.
Wow.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
Louise, let me ask you this question. Why is it that you believe it was so difficult to come across that information? I mean, we're talking about a 31-year career. and nobody ever provided that information or made it available for you. And I'm sure yours is not the only story like that. Why do you believe that it's like that?
It is because we are taught from day one. When you get off of that bus and you go into the military, you are there to serve. You're there to serve. My commitment is to be trained. My commitment is that upper mobility. My commitment is respect. I don't come in to leave. I come in to retire. I come in to serve. Everyone who comes in to say, I'm going to put in my 20 years. I'm going to put in my 20 years. Well, you only got 1 or 2% that can go that 20 years. But I come in with a sense of commitment. Commitment is drilled in from day one. I don't ever really think about retiring or leaving.
Okay.
So it's not something that is taught to you every day.
Sure.
But respect, your camaraderie. We're one, we're serving. They don't do, they don't. But like I said, I got a seminar. Go a whole day to get
1 day.
prepared. I get 1 day. So
Wow.
why is not this something that we're done maybe annually? Annually, do you have your DD 213 ready? Do you have your DD this? Do you have this? Do you have this done every year? Let's go in and do a review. Are you prepared to retire? Do you have do you have classes? Have you cross trained? Do you know where you want to go? How does what you do in the military transfer into the civilian world? What kind of jobs are you qualified for? That should be annual.
Okay. It makes sense. Yeah, because I
hindsight.
Right. It is 2020, and I think we for what we're doing here with KMM, we want to be able to reintroduce servicemen and women into society safely, with confidence that there are options for them, and that there is a team behind them as well, because you all work together in the military. It's always a team effort. You work together always, right? So it should be the same thing when you all come out. There should be a team, and that's what KMM wants to provide, that team structure and all the tools that are needed to help that transition. Yeah. And so, with that, I want to now I'll talk to you, Kyrstal. You are a DAV service officer. Yes. If you could briefly give us a little bit of what you do and why it is what you do is so important.
Well, can I just implement something before the question that will lead up to that answer?
Sure.
If you don't mind. Okay. I want to say for all active duty members, there is at the local installment or base, you can go to the once that 1 day training. They have people there today, because we're in a different time and a different generation, that you can get your exit and put in your paperwork for VA and get your benefits before you leave active duty now.
Okay.
That's a service that is offered. And so that's what I do today is for those that have come out of active duty and that need to apply for their benefits. We want to make sure that veterans live the high quality life that is afforded to them. Make sure they get their medical care. Make sure they tapped into the local VA hospitals or clinics. Make sure they have put in for compensation and pension. Make sure, that they have all the resources that is out there available to them. As well as those things, we want to make sure that if they need anything for their families, if you are 100%, your children go to school for free, 100% total and permanent. They go to college for free. So it's important for veterans to apply for these benefits. So if anything happened to them, their wives can apply for DIC, their children can go to school.
Right.
And that's what I do. I want to make sure that they get all the things that are available to them, all the information. And one of the things that I would encourage every veteran or every active duty person before he leaves to become a veteran is to get 2 to 3 copies of his service medical record.
Yes.
Okay.
He needs to do that, or she needs to do that. If you have not done that, when you get out, you can also apply through the SF 180, which is a form. And you can put in that application and request for your service medical record. But in every state, in every city, there is a VA office. When I got off of active duty, there was a veteran, which was a Vietnam veteran, and he went around to installations training us and going through our records and putting in the claim for us. So when I got out of the military, I was in San Diego, California. So even though I took that 1-day class, they had a Vietnam veteran to come in, look through my record along with others and put in the claim for us.
Okay.
And so when I got out, I left San Diego, California, and came to South Carolina, Buford, South Carolina. So I was blessed in the sense that I was able to work for the VA for 2 years while I was going to school. And so I learned a lot along the way. So God actually put people in my pathway that had already trudged the road to that happy destiny, and to bring me along. So I had a different experience, but I came along in early 2000. So, if you came along in the 90s or the 80s, you probably missed those supports.
Right.
Okay.
And information. But because I got out in the early 2000s, I just had veterans waiting to pull me along. I didn't know them. They didn't know me. They just heard. And so what's been freely given to me, I freely give back today. That's why I became a service officer, so I can help as many veterans and their families to achieve a more productive lifestyle.
Sure.
Nice.
Sure.
Nice.
Right. Thank you for that. So you from your experience, Kyrstal, you yourself decided that this is a path that you need to go down, because it's clearly not something that an individual can take on their own, especially if they just, you're just not knowing what to do. Because I'm imagining you're trying to adjust, not just adjust from you're in the military in that structure, right? So now you're leaving that. And you're going back to society, and things change in society just as fast, right? So now you're trying to readjust to that. And then you're trying to make sure that your own personal life is good. And then you're trying to make sure your financial side of things is good. And so I'm sure, and then like you mentioned earlier, you both mentioned, you talk about issues of PTSD and all that brings with it, right? So I'm sure you can really become bombarded and stressed out. Just trying to put the pieces together.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
When you're coming out of, Pastor Reggie, when you're coming out of the military, I encourage everyone to find a local VA office.
Right.
Okay.
And find a local VA office, sit down and have a conversation. I tell everybody, the VA office, when I worked for the VA office, they're going to be more of in every state, and because they probably have a contract, is the American Legion.
Yes.
And the foot soldiers are going to be the DAB. Those are the ones that are out and about in the different areas openly. You'll find a lot of the American Legions because they have a contract in the VA office. If you go in, that's who trains them. But there are thousands and hundreds of organizations. You have warriors, hero warriors. That's an organization.
Okay.
In order for you to put in your claim, you have to have a representation, whether it be DAB, American Legion. So I recommend everyone coming out of the military, go to your local VA office and check in.
Okay.
Because you're no longer active duty, you are a veteran. And they're really two different entities.
Okay. I get it.
Sister Kyrstal, I have a question. If I can ask a question?
Sure.
Well, when you're talking about the early 2000s, I had a person to ask me a question about a service-related illness that he got out in 1952, 53. So how could he even possibly start to relate that now illness back to something in the military if he have no paperwork or wasn't we didn't have the technology we have today? What would you tell a person like that? What would you tell them to start? How?
Well, what I would tell the person is to put in an SF 180 and request your service medical record.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
There is, and so during that time, your medical records would come from St. Louis.
Right.
But being that said, they had a fire. So a lot of records was burned.
Right.
But the good news about that is that if you put in and they said, we're sorry, your records got burned in this time frame, it's still to your favor. You still put in the claim, because whatever you claim, they can't deny it or agree to it.
Okay.
So that's what you, and that's what, because it's not their fault they burnt their records.
They can prove it didn't happen.
They can't prove. Okay.
It doesn't matter if you came along in 1950 or 2021.
Okay.
Your records is in archives.
Okay. So now, Chris, let me ask you this again. What is it? Give us the name of that form again for those who are listening. Let us give them the name of that form again they need to fill out.
It's called SF 180.
Okay.
Standard Form 180.
Okay.
And that's a request. What you're doing is you're requesting for your service medical record. You can request for your DD 214 on that.
Okay.
You can request for your personnel records.
Okay.
But for someone that is putting in compensation and pension, you need your service medical record. Because of your service medical record, whatever you were seen in the military in your service medical record, you can claim for it. If you had a headache, you can claim for migraines.
Okay.
If you had an earache, you can claim for hearing loss.
Okay.
If you had, neck pain, you can claim for. And so those are just some of the examples. You can claim for spinal problems.
Okay.
It depends on what you were seeing. But if it's not in your service medical record, it didn't happen to you. Okay. So it has to be in your service medical record.
Has to be in the record.
Okay.
Has to be in the record.
Okay.
So, some people have like a ringing in their ears. So, and later on, like the young man or the elderly man or however that Miss Lewis was talking about, he may have hearing loss. That might be a result of it. And then what you will find out by getting his DD 214, his service medical record, his personnel record, you would ask the veteran, where did you serve?
Okay.
And when did you serve? Because people who served in the military as a war veteran, like Vietnam War, Korean War, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, if you're over 65, you may don't qualify for compensation, but you can qualify for pension, which is still an income every year you can get every month.
So let me ask you this then, Chris. No, you're fine. Because you mentioned that. How would a veteran go about applying for compensation and pensions? What is it that they need to do as a veteran to apply for that?
In order to apply for that, you can go to your local VA or find the DAV personnel, or and you can find the information on the web where we're located at.
Okay.
They would put in actually 526 form for compensation and pension.
Okay.
But I suggest them, like, for example, DAV that I'm a part of, before the pandemic, every Thursday morning, they would be at Hardee's from 8 to 10, just helping veterans. That's all we did. Now they're in the outside doing it. And so what I do is I would meet people at the library, and I just met people word of mouth because of the constraint of my timing at this time. But that's what I do. Now, sometimes I let people come to my house. I'm trying to find a building now so that we can get this information and help it. My goal is to help as many veterans get their benefits and to do all that I can to ensure that their way of life is better than before they met me, or before they met the organization DAP.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. And the fact that you're willing to go outside of, even the constraints of what you would work in your normal business hours, but that you're taking it on as a personal mission to help as many people, as many families. We definitely need more Kyrstal Singletons working in every part of our country.
Absolutely.
Let me ask
one thing. I'm sorry.
No, sure.
One thing that this is what happened to me. When I worked for the VA for the 2 years while I was going to school, I was a work study student. And of course, my mentor was the director. He hired me. I didn't know he was going to be my mentor, but I watched him. He has since, many years ago passed away along with the other director. And that should I say, groomed me to who I am today. I watched many spouses come into the VA after their loved one had passed away, which was a veteran. Mm-hmm. And I've said this before, a lot of times family don't know when the veteran dies, their money dies with them. Right. And so now they're lost. They don't have no income. Right. And I saw a lady come in that kept drawing the money. She was at this point $24,000 in debt from drawing his money and not reporting it. And so now they were coming after her because she had to pay it back. And I saw them come in the office, and sometimes depending on who you know is important, because if you don't know someone, then you may not get the same treatment.
Absolutely.
And so I watched that and my heart was pricked. And I said, I had to do something outside the normal hours. Mm-hmm. Especially there was a man that would come in every day. I happened to go to church with his wife, and he was dying with cancer, and he only had 20%, but he had did 20 years. Wow. And he was in Vietnam War. And so I told him to bring his records to me. So I took his records home at night, and I worked at night going through his records, and so that I could at least get him more compensation, because his wife and him had a total of 4 kids, and they still had 2 in the home that hadn't went to college yet. They were still young. And so in the process of working with him, and I told him, bring me the records, he died. But upon his death, we had learned enough information where we had the coroner put on there that he died from what he had, which was cancer. He caught during the Vietnam War from the exposure of Agent Orange. Wow. And so his wife was able to get DIC. His 2 children went to college for free. And so, but if no one ever did that process, mm-hmm. Because you can, now what you have is you can claim something based on presumptions. Right. That means you can presume it happened. Okay. And so that's one of the things you can put in your write-up.
Okay.
Presumptions based on an illness.
Understand, Pastor Reggie and Pastor Derrick, that percentage depends on your amount. So if his percentage went from 20 to 80, you're talking a lot of money.
That's what I was gonna ask you, because you're right. He was only at 20%, so
20%, which is low.
That's very low, right? That's very low. And
but his went to 100 upon his death.
Wow.
Because based on what the coroner, based on what the doctor wrote, caused his death.
Okay, so I don't know if our listeners are following this, but to go from 20% to 100%, right? That's major. I mean,
that's a major jump. Yeah.
Right. And that affords a lot of the financial help that a family would need.
Yes.
Right. So here's the thing, and I know, Derrick, I know you have a question you want to ask.
Sure.
Here's the thing. And either one of you can answer this. What would you say as far as the percentage of veterans that fall through the crack and have these similar stories, but No one knows. I mean, if you had to put a percentage on it, what would you say?
I would say as high as 50%.
Wow.
Wow.
And I would say it took me 3 years to get from 10 to 100. That included my local VA representative, the Department of Defense, and President Obama.
Wow.
A serious
Okay.
guy. But that consistency and follow through.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I got you.
It
Now,
took
Chris.
2 years, but I know people who've been out 20 years and they're still at 20 and 30%.
Man.
And I want to say too that one of the things that God has used me in working with veterans is that He used me to encourage the veterans, don't give up.
Don't give up. You can't.
I can tell you all, when I started out, I worked for the local VA as a work studies student while I was going to school. I had to put in my claim again because I had to cancel the claim in California because I wasn't in California. So I had to put in my claim again. When they initially sent me back a response, it was denied.
Yes.
And that was in 2003. I appealed it, and I knew to appeal it because I was already working in the VA. So I knew I was learning the system, and I had time to do my own claim while I was helping others.
Everybody
so
to appeal.
Right.
Okay.
Say it again,
After 2
Louise.
years, they gave me 30%. And so after giving me 30%, 2 years later, I asked for an increase. And that increase went to 50%. After 50% increase, I asked for, and 2 more years later, like around 2009, I asked for another increase. That increase went to 80. Then when I applied again, they dropped me back down to 60. But after 9 years, they gave me 90%, which they sent me $96,000 back paid for 9 years.
Wow.
Then after
Right.
that, I was able to apply for 100% unemployability. So the first thing God gave me to encourage veterans is don't give up. Don't put a time on it. Work, and whatever response they give you, make sure you respond back. You don't want your claim to die, because long as you don't let your claim to die, you can be that person after 9 and 10 years, get that back pay.
That actually leads me into the question that I was going to ask you, Kyrstal, because if I'm a veteran and I've already submitted a claim, and it's obvious that these claims take time to process, but who can I contact in terms of getting status updates, in terms of somebody being able to tell me exactly where my claim is?
Well, you can call the 1-800 number, 1-800-827-1000. And you can also check now, because of the technology we're in, online. I'm old fashioned. I tell people, you can go online and put in your claim. You can check online, but the computer is still ran by men. So I like to put it in the mail, do it certified where someone can sign it. Then you know they got it, because it's still, whether you do it online or send it by mail, it's still got to go through a mail room. So it's still got to go through the same process. And then, like I said, I like to call the 1-800 number, and I like to do it old-fashioned because that's a guarantee for, I saw down through the years better results of people getting their benefit. I had a man come to me, wanted me to help him. He was like, he's a computer whiz. Oh yeah, it's on the computer. He showed me, and I'm like, then a letter came later saying they denied him because he didn't respond in time. He was basing it on what he was looking at on the computer.
Okay. All right. And for our viewers, we're going to put that 1-800 number on the screen for you.
Right. Kyrstal, I have one last question, and I think you've kind of covered some of this, but for veterans looking for general information about benefits and eligibility, where should they go for that information? Is that still the same 800 number, or?
They can call the 1-800-827-1000, but I encourage every veteran to go to your local VA office.
Okay. Okay.
There, in the local VA office, you're gonna find representation from the American Legion.
Okay.
And they are there. They're set up by the state.
Okay.
They are appointed actually by the governors.
Okay.
To be in those positions to service veterans.
Okay. So
then it is the local VA office. But once you start there and you don't get what you need, look up other organizations. DAB is one of them. Warrior Heroes. Look for someone that can sit down one-on-one and walk you through it, because when you go into the local VA office, they can give you your up-to-date pay. They can apply real quick online for you and get the results and all of that.
Yes.
They are there from 8 to 5.
Okay.
If you will. Those are the typical times.
Typical hours,
but they're not gonna sit down and go through your records and read through them. They're just gonna put in a claim. They don't want to know, what are you claiming for?
Sure.
They're not gonna sit down and go through your records.
Sure.
That's why I said DAB is like foot soldiers. We're gonna go through your records. We're gonna sit and counsel with you. We're gonna see where you need to be and point you in that direction.
Absolutely. I like it.
In closing, I'd like to mention we have to make sure and remind the veteran that states are different. Because in Georgia, I was told that the DAB cannot be a representative for me in the VA office. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because Kristen and I discussed that. In North Carolina, it may be like that, but in Georgia, it is not. But I have to go out and independently find somebody to go over my medical records line by line.
Wow.
Because I would not have known that certain things qualified me for benefits. I would not have gotten from 10% to 100% if I hadn't been consistent and followed through.
Sure.
So and also a lot of family members have turned their back on veterans because they don't understand the difficulty that the veteran is going through is a mental something.
Right.
They do not know that this veteran qualifies. So they had somebody to actually help them to go and to understand. But a lot of family members have turned their backs on them because they don't understand what their illness is.
They don't understand.
They don't understand.
And I think there's a degree of not wanting to get as involved in it, because I think there's a mental challenge.
Absolutely.
Not only for the veteran but for the family itself.
For
because
the family member too. Yeah, you give
right.
But thank God for the Christians. But it was so difficult for me, and I'm just speaking for me personally, is that I got to the point that cliche and that here, thank you for your service. I ask people, please don't say that. Because you're saying that because your supervisor told you to. But do you not understand that is really something that we have put in a service and I'm not getting it back? I'll just give you one quick example. I do suffer from PTSD and I'm a survivor from depression, but I had to have a specific medication. So when I called and asked the gentleman if I could get that particular medication, he said, no, you can't. And I said, so tell me why I can't. So he just blew it off. Well, when I talked to his supervisor said, yes, we can do that. So I asked for that gentleman's name. And I said, sir, when you come to work, do you understand that you have a person's mental health in your hands? So do not look at it as a job. Look at it as you could make a difference. Because you just told me, but that's what I'm thinking about. I couldn't get that medication. It made a difference between the medication, getting it and not getting it. So please take your job more serious and understand you have my mental health in your hands.
Right.
I'm sorry, Pastor Reggie, but I need to say so that everyone would know is that it doesn't matter what state you're in. VA is a federal government.
Absolutely. I'm talking about the DAB part. Just the DAB part. And I question whether that was true, Crystal, because I don't really think they were telling me the truth.
Okay, let me just say this, and this is a fact. I can send it to you. It's so that when we put information out, we're giving them facts.
Absolutely.
VA is the federal government. When you go to the local VA, you're going to find American Legion.
Right.
And so that's who's contract with the VA in every state. So you cannot have the DAB working with VA because VA is appointed by the governor and they are American Legion.
Okay.
So if you want a DAV, which it doesn't matter what organization, it's hundreds of them.
Okay.
You just want someone that can sit down and work with you.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the main thing is that they go to the local VA office, which is ran by American Legion. That's who trains those service officers there. If you want a DAV service officer or national office, you have to go to the state to see a DAV there, and you can go and get represented in that state. For Atlanta, it may be Atlanta has a regional office in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. In Buford, South Carolina, the region office in Columbia, and there you will find the different representation, DAV, VA. But the local VAs are ran by American Legion because they've been appointed by the government. But for as VA as a whole, across the board, it's a federal government. If I call the 1-800 number 827-1000, I'm going to get Columbia. If you call it in Atlanta, you're probably going to get the region office in Atlanta, unless it's somewhere else. If you call it in Kentucky, if I'm in Bowling Green, where I was born and bred, I will get Louisville, Kentucky. Okay. But the 1-800 number works throughout the United States.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
You're going to get your region office.
Yes.
For that state.
Kyrstal and Louise, I want to thank both of you all for being on the show with us and for everything that you all are doing in your efforts to service our disabled veterans. We have some contact information that we're going to be able to leave you, but you definitely want to start with your local office, your local VA Veterans Administration.
Right.
Kingdom Mandate Ministries has also set up a message line that you can leave a message for Kyrstal at 1-800-430-9520 extension 4. And if you have a general question that you believe Ms. Singleton can help you with, you are free to leave that message there. Kingdom Mandate Ministries will make sure that Kyrstal gets that message for you. We want to thank you all for tuning in to the Kingdom Mandate Podcast. I'm Pastor Derrick Turner.
I'm Pastor Reggie Davis.
We are signing off. Thanks again for listening. If you would like to make a donation to Kingdom Mandate Ministries, you can visit our website at www.kingdommandateministries.com and click the donate button. Please, if you like the video, click like, subscribe to us on YouTube. That also helps us out. God bless you and take care.
Be blessed.
Thank you for tuning in to the Kingdom Mandate Podcast. Join us again next week as we continue to seek His kingdom. To support Kingdom Mandate Ministries, visit our website at kingdommandateministries.com and click donate. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. Until next week, we pray that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. God bless.